What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing the 1,000 round review of a very compact and easy to carry 9mm pistol, the Springfield Hellcat. Now, before we do that, as always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters. Because you guys was able to afford this gun, bought this gun with the Patreon dollars. If you want to help support the channel, all you have to do is go down to the link in the description and sign up for Patreon. And thanks for the opportunity to continue reviewing guns for you guys. I also want to mention a local homeless shelter in Ames, Iowa. If you're not up for going to Patreon, that's fine, but please go down there and click that link. It donates directly to a youth shelter in Ames, Iowa. Those kids could really use your support, so please go down there and give them $1 or $2. It goes a long way, especially if a lot of people do it. Now, the Springfield Hellcat, as you can see right here, is a gun that I've had for a while. I think I've had this gun for like a year now. And we did the first shots quite a while ago. I mean, it was at least before last winter, so it's got to be coming up on a year. The reason why the 1,000 round review took so long is because it's very small. And 1,000 rounds out of a small subcompact double stack 9mm pistol like this takes a while because it kind of sucks to shoot this pistol 1,000 times. It's a 9mm, and you guys are going to be out there saying there's no recoil in a 9mm, yada yada. Well, there is, and a gun this small kicks probably considerably more than something like a 45 in a 1911, or maybe like a Glock 20 or something like that. And honestly, it's just a little uncomfortable for me to shoot, but I understand the reason that it exists, and we'll get into that. So this is a subcompact double stack 9mm pistol that is striker fired, which is a very popular genre of pistols these days. That genre of pistol started with the SIG 365, and that pistol blew up and became the highest selling pistol the last few years. So Springfield obviously wanted to follow suit and stay current, so they made the Hellcat, which is essentially their version of the 365, and then the Ruger came out with one, and Smith & Wesson came out with one, Taurus came out with one, and on they go. And I've got a few videos comparing those, but I don't have a specific review on the Hellcat, so I figured we'd do one here today. Now, with an 18-ounce overall weight, it's very small and very easy to carry. And it has a 3-inch barrel, making it very compact as well, considering the capacity. Now, it comes with an 11 and a 13-round magazine, which is an unheard of capacity before the last few years. If you compare this to something like the M&P Shield, the original, or the Glock 43 or something like that, you'll find that it's similar in size with a little bit less than double the capacity, which makes it a very viable firearm for concealed carry. It makes it very ideal, in my personal opinion, as long as you're competent up with a pistol that you're able to shoot it accurately, which we'll get into here in a minute as well. Now, there's a bunch of features that I like about the Hellcat, and there's a bunch of different models as well. This one is not optics ready, but it does come optics ready if you so desire, with a little bit more cash, of course. It also comes with, I believe now, the compensated version and longer barreled versions, along with different colors as well. This one's flat dark earth, but they come in black, and they come in several different colors, which make it a very versatile firearm, so you can kind of get what you want, and that's kind of nice. Back in the old days, you weren't able to do that. Modern era of handguns, there's a lot more options available. Now, the features that I like on the gun are going to be the dual captured recoil spring. I like that a lot. I like the overall size and weight, of course. I didn't mention that it is only 1 inch wide, and that's what you're going to feel on the old belly when you're carrying it, so only being about 1 inch wide is really awesome, especially for that 13+1. 14 rounds in a gun this small, again, pretty freaking awesome. That's only one short of a Glock 19, and this is a whole lot smaller than a Glock 19. Let me give you, well, the only gun I have on the table here is the CZ P10F, and you can see here it is a lot damn smaller for only about 5 rounds less. However, the P10F is obviously going to shoot way better. Now, it's got some U-notch high-definition tritium night sights on there, which is a very high-quality sighting setup. However, that white U on there I did not like at all, and it did cause some issues in accuracy for me. Another thing that we ran into with this pistol that is that I had to drift the sight because it was way off out of the box.
Okay.
All right, so we're out here at about 80 yards or so, and we're just going to shoot at one of the IPSC targets there and just kind of see if we're on. And if we don't hit right away, we'll go up close and just kind of judge where we're at, and then we'll move back eventually when I get used to whatever sight picture the gun gives us. That was way off to the left. Way off to the left. All right, it's pretty safe to say we're gonna have to shoot paper. You're not gonna have to worry about that if you get the optics ready version, but this one we did have to drift back in order to get some accurate shots. It was a couple of feet off at 50 yards, a couple inches off at 7 yards, so it was definitely noticeable. Aside from being off though, we do have the little tactical notch there, so you can run off your belt in case you needed to do a one-hand manipulation, aka shot in the freaking hand, which would suck. The slide serrations are extremely usable, and they're also low profile. That's hard to do. It's hard to make them low profile so they don't hurt your stomach or your back, but still very usable in case of malfunction clearing and stuff like that. I like the front slide serrations, especially with an optics ready gun, because you don't have a lot of space back here, especially with a small gun like this. Now it has a little thumb ramp there, which is kind of just for aesthetics because it's pretty unusable, especially in a small gun like this. We have an accessory rail to mount lights, lasers, and all that cool stuff, and this is one of the smallest guns that you can mount lights and lasers to without having to mount it to the trigger guard, so I like that a lot as well. Metal guide rod in there, or sorry, nope, plastic guide rod in there, my bad, and a cold hammer forged barrel, which is pretty sweet. Indicator here and on the back. Then we have the slide release, which is single-sided, takedowns up here with a sort of sunken in magazine release, which is kind of hard to get to. However, you won't exactly hit it by accident, that's for damn sure. We have some pretty decent texture on the gun considering the size and overall philosophy of use of the gun. It's a pretty decent grip, although it's extremely small, obviously, hence the small overall profile. A lot easier to shoot when you have the extended magazine in there. For me personally, because I got the big goon hands, my hand's actually bigger than the gun itself, which makes, again, guns like this very challenging to shoot. One of the ways that I shoot real fast is recoil control. I keep the gun on target. I don't let it rise up. I don't follow through with recoil like some of the older people that you see on YouTube. I like to hold that bitch on target and fire as many rounds as fast as possible on target right now. And this size of gun is difficult for me to do that with because my right hand covers the entire grip of the gun, and my recoil control predominantly comes from my left hand. You want to squeeze pretty hard with your right, but you don't want your finger to be compromised because your trigger finger is obviously what runs the gun accurately and quickly. So you got to have a real good squeeze with your left hand, and I can't really do that because there is no space for me to do so. Also, when you're running a gun real fast, sometimes you have some trigger issues, slapping the trigger, things like that. And in the old days, they tell you not to do that kind of stuff. Well, that's great, but your support hand also can hold the gun on target and mitigate some of those trigger issues, especially when you're going really fast. Again, not being able to do that with a smaller gun exacerbates the already large recoil of the gun itself and slows you down considerably in your cadence of fire. Getting into what we would use this for. Obviously, you would use it for concealed carry. That's what it's designed for. However, a gun like this with a little bit bigger grip and an accessory rail could flex into home defense for sure. 14 round capacity is more than enough for home defense, my personal opinion, because you got extra mags. I mean, you could buy several of these guys and have reload after reload after reload and keep the party moving. So I think it would flex into home defense real well, even over some guns like the Glock 43 and stuff like that, just because of the added capacity and an ability to easily mount a light. So I like that. Flexes into other categories as well, but not really plinking, because as I said before, this category of gun is not that fun to shoot. Getting to the actual review process itself, we shot 1,000 rounds for this gun, which took a freaking while. I shot something like 700 myself over the course of about a year in different weather conditions, cold climate, warm climate, didn't seem to matter. We had no reliability issues, which I did like. If you have a gun like this and you have reliability issues, just throw it away, because it's not a competition gun. These guns are designed for home defense or concealed carry, in which those situations are very serious, so reliability is paramount, and in that, Springfield did a good job. I've had a lot of Springfield guns that didn't work, so I'm super happy that this one did. We didn't shoot a huge amount of different types of ammunition, but we did shoot some remanufactured ammo, shot Fiocchi as always, we shot Winchester White Box, and then we shot some Critical Duty through this bad boy, and it functioned reliably, so more power to it. Really appreciate that. I had a couple of my buddies shoot this, my nephew, my wife, and a few other people as well, and all of them agreed that it's very snappy. However, they don't have as much experience in shooting micro pistols as I do, and I would argue that this is probably a little less snappy than something like maybe the Ruger Max 9, which I think is the snappiest out of all of them. However, it doesn't handle recoil quite as well as something like the M&P Shield Plus, which I feel like has the least recoil. The shootability of the gun wasn't bad. It's not amazing, it's not the Shield Plus, as I mentioned before, but the trigger isn't too bad. I mean, it's pretty heavy, but that's kind of what you want when something's pointed at your dick anyway. And the reset is really long, and that is kind of unforgivable to me. I like to have a really short reset so I can bump those rounds out really fast. Shortest point is a straight line, and the less reset, the less you have to overcome, the faster you can shoot. So the trigger is not the worst break. A lot of creep to it, but on a small gun, you're going to have that. But the reset, I'm definitely not a fan of. As far as accuracy goes, as I said, the sights were off out of the box. However, once we got them put on correctly, there was very little issue I had with accuracy with the gun. The first shots, I didn't really tell that story because I had the sights off during that. All right, let's check that. All right, that was my first one. I pulled that one. That was my fault. These are the subsequent groups. There's actually 1, 2, 3 shots right there. So that's obviously where the pistol's hitting. That was at 10 yards. So even though that's the left, that's a pretty good group, I would say, for 10 yards, minus this guy. Don't worry about that guy. So I can actually see on the pistol that the sights appear to be drifted a little bit. I can see the difference between this. Obviously is a little bit more difference than that one. So what we'll have to do, but after we get done with the first shots, we'll just go downstairs, tap it with a mallet, and we'll be zeroed. But afterward, it was fairly easy to shoot once I got used to the whole putting the dot in the U thing. It's kind of weird because your eye wants to center it a little high, at least mine does. So I kept shooting a little high when I started shooting really quickly, like on the plate rack or something. But that's not a fault of the gun. That's a fault of me shooting a whole lot of different guns, and it's just difficult to get used to. That being said, that would affect you as well if you don't shoot very much. So be aware that if you like this sighting setup, you may want to practice a little more than maybe some other sighting setups, because it's just, for me, not as intuitive to use. I would have preferred them get rid of that white U and just go with a flat black U like Wilson Combat does. But hey, I don't work at Springfield, so they can put whatever sights out they want. Big green tennis ball at the end there does help with quick sight acquisition, and it does have a tritium dot in it, so you can shoot at night, which is kind of nice because that's like 50% of, time. So overall, I think the sights are good. Trigger kind of sucks. The undercut on the trigger guard's done pretty well. Trigger guard's fairly large, so it can be used with gloved hands. That is a must for me. I live in Iowa, and it gets real fucking cold out here, so I need to have a big trigger guard. Texture on the grip was good, as I mentioned before. Magazine changes are slow because my hand hangs like 1.5 inches down below the gun. So you're going to have those mag pinches. And if you don't know what I mean, if your hand hangs down that low and you got a vice grip on that bitch like that, you can see all my hand gets stuck in there. And then you're going to have some meat in between the magazine and the magazine well on occasion. And you're not going to like that, but get used to it if you're going to shoot a lot of small guns and do a lot of reload practice on small guns like this. I like that it comes with 2 mags. I like that it has options for optics, because that's fucking awesome. Optics minimize the accuracy issue with the small sight radius. So one thing you're going to notice when you start shooting smaller and smaller guns is not only the recoil going to get more and more, but the sight radius is going to get smaller and smaller. And with an optic, you only have 1 point of aim. You don't have to worry about that quite as much. That being said, with this small of a gun, you're going to have a small optic as well. Let me get the Canic over here. Oh, no. Here we go. The Holosun 507K, one of my favorite optics for this particular size of gun. And that's about as big of an optic as you're going to be able to fit on there. Even though that K is very small, you can see that it still hangs quite a bit over the sides of the slide. So that just gives you an idea of how small the damn Hellcat actually is. I love the color. I don't hate the shooting impulse that much, especially by comparison to something like the Ruger Max. I'm going to hit on that so hard because I fucking hate that gun. But the Hellcat, I think, is good to go. If you like Springfield's politics and you like their company and you run an XD or something like that, and you're looking for something really small, the Hellcat's a pretty good way to go. If you pick this up next to the P365 or the M&P Shield Plus or even the Taurus G4X, and you just like how this feels better, like how it looks better, or the price is better, I see this as a very viable option between like what I would consider the top 3. I still like the 365 XL, maybe the best. I like the Shield Plus they're pretty much tied. And then in third place for me, as far as the Micro 9s go, is going to probably be the Hellcat currently. So I like the gun. Is it the best in its class? For me personally, no. But there's nothing wrong with it, per se. I wish it would have had a little better trigger, but other than that, I mean, the damn Hellcat's pretty good to go. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.